welcome to this month's episode of Tea with Lisa. It is February, and we have a special guest with us here today for a return visit, Travis Doss, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you what he does.
All right, well, thank you. Well, thank you for having me back again.
No problem.
As you said, I'm Travis Doss. I am the Executive Director for the Richmond County Board of Elections. I've been working there for a little over 30 years. I became the director in 2022. And so what we do at the Board of Elections is we conduct all of the elections for all of Richmond County, the city of Blythe, and the city of Hepzibah. Okay. So we have an exciting year coming up now with 2026.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff coming up.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Well, let's get right into the questions then. Have there been any updates to accessible voting options since the last time you were on the show? I know it's been about 2 years. So
there really hasn't been any changes. Of course, in the state of Georgia, our voting equipment is handicap accessible. We do generally have one voting booth that is like wheelchair compliant. It's at a different height. Mm-hmm. Each one of those units will have what's called a keypad for voters that have hearing impairment, okay. Or if reading impairment, it'll actually have the ballot read to them.
Okay.
But then every voting unit has the ability of having a magnified ballot. Okay. So if a person has sight limitations and they want the ballot magnified, mm-hmm. It can do that. Okay. There are also options on the ballot where if there's a problem with color contrast, you can change the colors just to make it black and white and things like okay. that. So, and that's every unit, not just the okay. one that is wheelchair accessible. Every unit, a voter has that ability to make those adjustments on their own.
And that's at every precinct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's at every polling location. Okay. Every unit has that ability, okay. Whether it's advanced voting, whether it's election day voting, the voting equipment does that. Okay. And of course, for people that may have inability to actually get out, yeah. We can mail them ballots, okay. And they can vote the ballot at home, okay. In the privacy of their own home. Okay. It's a paper ballot. And then, of course, if there are situations where a person feels more comfortable having somebody in the voting booth with them, mm-hmm. they can bring an assistant okay. in with them.
That's yes. One of my questions is we have viewers that may not know that they can bring someone in the booth with them if they need to.
Exactly. Okay. Federal law allows for a voter to have anyone of their choosing to go into the voting booth with them. Okay. There's just a little bit of extra paperwork okay. Where the voter signs their voter certificate saying they're the one voting, and the assistant signs saying that they're the one who is assisting. Okay. And it's just an oath that says that they are assisting the person, they're not voting for the person.
Okay, and so someone that is blind or visually impaired, mm-hmm. Is it in Braille? Do you have it in Braille, or how does that work?
It's not in Braille. It's an audio ballot.
Okay.
So a person who has a visual impairment, they have two options. Okay. They can have an assistant go into the booth with them mm-hmm. and read the ballot to them. They can even make the selections on their behalf. Okay. Or if they want to vote independently, yeah. We have the headphones that okay. they listen to the ballot. Yeah. It's a keypad that goes through the instructions where they press a button to select, they press buttons to go okay. backwards and forwards, and it gives them all the explanations about that. Okay. We've actually had in the past, we've had special days through the I think it's the Georgia Association of the Blind. We've done a program where a special day was set aside okay. where we had representatives there from the association, and we had other people there, extra assistants, if people had assistance with that. But a person that does have a visual impairment, they can vote independently if they choose.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear that. And is every county the same, or?
Yeah, so every county in the state of Georgia does have the ability to magnify the ballot and change the contrast, okay. And they have to have at least one voting unit that has the keypad and the headphones. pounds.
Okay, but it varies state to state, though, right?
That is correct,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Now, of course, every state has to have certain accommodations, but it can vary from state to state. Like, for example, in South Carolina, they use a different type of voting system than we do. But I know that they have some type of ADA compliant voting unit.
And I live in South Carolina, so when I vote, I'm able to just pull up to the curb and they bring it right out to the car.
Yes, that is one of the things that we hear about South Carolina.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Georgia has not gotten to that point.
Okay.
Mainly because of, unfortunately, our voting system is a three-part system.
Oh, okay.
It's got the touch screen, it's got the printer, and then it has the scanner.
Oh, okay.
Where the South Carolina system, it's all incumbencing. So incumbency, that's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're saying.
Yes, it's all together. How's that? So the units it's all one unit.
Yeah.
So therefore, they actually have the ability of bringing it out to the curb to allow you to vote.
All right. Well, over the last 2 years, what new measures has the Georgia Board of Elections implemented to improve accessibility for voters with disabilities? I guess we kind of
but one of the things that we have done, of course, every polling place is handicap accessible, ADA compliant. So we strive to make sure that the voting room is not too far from the parking lot. If the location that we use does not have enough handicap parking, we will put out temporary parking for that as well. The other things that we have done, because our advanced voting or early voting has been so successful, we make sure that we have more wheelchair accessible voting booths than at the polling place. The polling place usually has one. In our advanced voting, we usually have at least 4 at those locations because the booths are bigger, the rooms are a little bit bigger, so they can accommodate that. Unfortunately, some of our polling locations aren't really big enough for the larger booths. But for advanced voting, the rooms are bigger, so we try and, because I know we had a situation a few years back, and we had 2 people who wanted to use the ADA booth, and of course the person had to wait and things like that. We do also make available to any voter that may have mobility issues or are standing for a period of time. They can always ask for a chair. They can sit down and vote. It's not required that you stand. Just to kind of make things a little bit easier. If they would prefer to sit, they don't necessarily need. They're not in a wheelchair, and they don't necessarily need the larger booth, but they do want to be able to sit and while they vote. And of course, we'll always assist with that.
Travis, can you tell us a little bit about absentee voting and kind of how that process works?
Absolutely. So, we talked a lot about election day voting, but if a person would prefer to vote from home, we do have the option of receiving a ballot by mail. It is something that you have to do on an annual basis. And so if a person is either disabled or elderly, which is over the age of 65, they can request a ballot be mailed to them, and they can request it for the entire year. So if they were to put in one request, it's good for the primary runoff, the general, and the general runoff. And the good thing about that is once they get the ballot, if they decide, you know what, I'd rather go in, they could do that. All that we ask is that they bring the actual ballot they received to us, turn it in, and they're allowed to vote in person. So it's not, they're not limited that if you get a paper ballot, you have to vote it from home, but it gives you the option. So let's say you request the ballot, you get it, you're not having a good day, you don't want to, come in and vote, absolutely just vote the paper ballot. Of course, as I said, it is something that has to be done annually. So if a person requested one last year or 2 years ago, they need to request a new one for this year. We will start accepting those the 1st of March. You can either go online to our website and get the application. You can go to the Secretary of State's webpage and get the application. But it is something that we do have to receive that in writing on the actual state form. But, and a person doesn't have to have, a disability or elderly to get an absentee ballot. But the nice thing about people who are elderly or disabled, they get one for the entire year. But, if you just if you're going to be out of town or you just would prefer to vote from home, you can request one, but you have to request one for every election. We still have no excuse absentee voting, but you do have to request one for every election if it's just because you just don't want to go to the polls election day. But the special category for a person who is elderly or disabled, they can get one they can just make one request and they get it for the entire year.
Okay, and how does that work for like someone in the military? Is that can they do absentee?
Exactly. Okay. So we do have that same thing. So a person who is in the military, they have the same accommodations with, they can make one request for the entire year. And they actually have extra time. So federal law states that we have to mail their ballots out at least 45 days before an election, where a person who is stateside, we only send those out 29 days, but a person who is military, we send those out 45 days, and they have 3 extra days to get it back to us. So that is a little challenge sometimes with the absentee ballots. We must receive the voted ballots back by election day, by the time the polls close, so by 7 p.m. on election day. The military, on the other hand, they have 3 extra days. As long as we get it by the Friday after the election, then we will count their ballot.
So Travis, can you tell us about the upcoming election dates?
Yes, so 2026 is going to be a busy year. As a matter of fact, it started out earlier and busier than we expected. We do have a special election in House District 130, which is coming up on March the 10th. So if people live in the 130 House District, you can go onto our website to see, or you can check your registration on the My Voter page. Voter registration deadline is coming up this Monday the 9th. We will start advance voting the following Monday on the 16th, and that will run for 3 weeks and 2 Saturdays. And then, of course, the big election, or the big primary that we have coming up, is on March the 19th. Excuse me, that is May the 19th. May the 19th. And that will be, it's a general primary, so we'll have governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, but for Richmond County, we will also have mayor and county commissioner on that. The May 19th date is also statewide. So if you're not in Richmond County, but if you're in another county in the state of Georgia, you will have that same election date of May the 19th. And then, of course, we have the general election, which will come up in November, on November the 3rd. So it is definitely a busy year. For each one of those elections, there will be 3 weeks of advance voting, and that, again, is statewide. 2 Saturdays. Every county has to be open at least 2 Saturdays. Of course, election day, the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and absentee voting is available statewide, and you can make those requests anytime prior to the election. And so it's just, and one of the things that we strongly encourage people to do is, before election day, verify your registration. For many people, it could be 2 years since the last time you voted. You may have moved. Things may have changed as far as your polling locations. So you can always go to our website or to the Secretary of State's website, which is, if you just do a simple Google search, where it's like My Voter Page, Georgia. You enter in your first initial, last name, date of birth, and it gives you all your voting information. It verifies your address. It tells you your polling locations. It gives you the hours of advance voting, how to get an absentee ballot, and things like that. So I do strongly encourage people to really double check that, because the worst thing that happens or can happen is if you wait till election day, you go to the wrong polling place only to be told you have to go to another polling place. And so I always say, verify that information before election day.
And you mentioned House 130.
Yes.
What area does that cover?
For Richmond County, House 130, it runs the entire right side of Richmond County. It starts from the South Carolina line up, and it runs down the Savannah River all the way down to the Burke County line.
Okay.
So it's if you look at it on a map, if you take a point at the top of Richmond County, at the bottom of Richmond County, it runs that whole right side of the county. But a person can either contact our office or they can go online and to check their Georgia House district to see, and if they're in House District 130, then they will have that election on March the 10th.
I know you mentioned advance voting. Is that the same thing as early voting, or is that the same thing?
It is. So the terms are interchangeable. We usually say the term advance voting because that is what's written in our laws. But it does mean the same thing. Early voting, before Election Day voting. So if a person wants to vote prior to Election Day, they have 3 weeks that they can do that. So it's 3 full weeks, 2 Saturdays, and in Richmond County we also have an optional Sunday. For us in Richmond County, we have 4 early advanced locations. They're open between the hours of 8:30 to 6 every single day. And as I said, that even if you're not in Richmond County, all counties in the state of Georgia have some type of early voting, meaning that it's the 3 weeks, it's the 2 Saturdays. The hours may be different, so I do recommend that, if you're not in Richmond County, to verify for your particular county what the hours are. I know like in Columbia County, they're open 8 to 5. We're 8:30 to 6. Burke County, I'm not really 100% sure what their hours are, but every county in the state of Georgia, we do have 3 full weeks of early voting.
All right. Well, Travis, I want to thank you for coming on and being our guest this month on Tea with Lisa. Can you tell the people how they would reach you if they have any questions or comments or concerns? Oh,
absolutely. So you can reach out to us by either calling our office. Our number is 706-821-2340. You can send us an email at richmondelections@augustag.gov. You can go to our website, which is www. I don't even know if you have to say that anymore, but www.augustag.gov/vote. Of course, if you have issues or difficulties finding us, you can always do an internet Google search and just put Richmond County Board of Elections, and luckily we're always the first hit before Richmond, Virginia. Because I get a lot of email for Richmond, Virginia, so we must be doing a good job. Always, you can reach out either by phone, email, or going to the website. We have all the information as far as upcoming elections, where's voting, absentee voting, and things like that. So if ever you have a question, that's what our office is there for, is to assist with that. So reach out at any time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So that's this month's episode of Tea with Lisa. So if you have any questions about disability-related issues, you can always call us here at Walton Options at 706-724-6262. And make sure you follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So we're on all of those platforms. So just look for us there. So thank you again, Travis.
You're welcome. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, it's called X now. So so you can follow us on those too.
And you can follow Travis in his office also. Thank you again, and we'll see you next month on Tea with Lisa.